The WBA welterweight champion is Thomas Hearns. And the WBC welterweight champion is Sugar Ray Leonard. On September 16th at Caesars Palace in Las Vegas, Nevada, these two warriors will climb into the ring to unify the welterweight title. Sugar Ray Leonard, the most popular figure in boxing today, faces Thomas Hearns, the most lethal puncher in the history of the welterweight division. This is the countdown to the showdown. HBO Sports presents a special preview of World Championship Boxing. The countdown to the showdown between WBC champion Sugar Ray Leonard and WBA champion Thomas Hearns. Hello everybody, I'm Barry Tompkins along with Larry Merchant as we look ahead to one of the biggest events without question of this sporting year. In the next half hour we'll be looking at the history of some of the other great fights that have led up to this one being just the latest in a long series. We'll talk about the strategy of the two fighters and we'll look at some of the things that go on outside the ring that could be diversions to the inexperienced. And of course we'll get the opinions of the so-called experts. Well, we have an expert right here, Larry Merchant. And Larry, this is just the latest in the fight of the century syndrome. You've seen a lot of them. Where do you put this one in the great scheme of things?
Well, right after Ali Frazier won, which was the most electric fight and perhaps event that I've ever been connected with. And the interesting thing about this one, and the one that's got me so excited and electrified, is the fact that these are two young fighters in the prime of their careers, in the prime of condition. Usually in a fight of the century, it's a younger fighter trying to establish himself against an older fighter.
Well, everybody's excited, everybody's electrified, but before we look ahead, let's look back. History of other greatest fights of the century. Of all the fights of the century, perhaps the most memorable are the rematch between Joe Louis and Max Schmeling. That was in 1938. The three showdowns in 1947 and 8 between middleweights Tony Zale and Rocky Graziano. In 1952, Rocky Marciano dethroned Jersey Joe Walcott in a classic heavyweight battle. In the late 50s, Sugar Ray Robinson split two middleweight championship fights with Carmen Basilio. And of course in the 70s, there were the three historic clashes between Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier. The 80s brought us the two struggles between Sugar Ray Leonard and Roberto Duran. And that brings us to September 16th, 1981, when Sugar Ray Leonard and Thomas Hearns will square off in the latest fight of the century. Sugar Ray Leonard and Thomas Hearns had parallel careers all through their amateur days until 1976, when Sugar Ray Leonard came back from the Olympic Games a hero. Thomas Hearns, he was the darling of Detroit, but Ray Leonard, he was the darling of America. In his early professional years, Sugar Ray Leonard amassed millions of dollars, dazzling packed arenas and television audiences with the speed of his hands, the quickness of his feet, and the power of his punch. Some boxing experts criticized the caliber of his opponents, but no one doubted his skills. Within 2 years, Sugar Ray had established himself as a legitimate welterweight contender and the biggest attraction in the sport. It was at about this time that a certain fighter in Detroit had his first confrontation with Sugar Ray Leonard.
He was called up to come out to work with Ray. Ray needed a sparring partner, and at a particular time there was no one in Washington who could give Ray the work that he really needed.
To my knowledge, I think Hearns was trying to invade my territory. He came to the D.C., Maryland area, and he was doing a little self-promoting, as I would call it.
Ray wanted to show off a little bit in front of his hometown people, and it was just a thing that I had to let Ray know that I'm not the person to really to get out and try to show off on. You know, I can hold my ground.
Thomas Hearns had no trouble holding his own in the ring. When Segundo Murillo was knocked to the canvas in March of 1979, he became the 17th straight knockout victim. After fighting in anonymity, the Motor City Cobra finally started receiving some national exposure. After he disposed of Bruce Curry in Detroit, he had recorded 19 knockouts in just 20 professional fights. But like Sugar Ray, he too suffered from accusations of soft opponents. And while boxing experts were aware of Hearns' devastating punching power and his awesome knockout ratio, many people, including Sugar Ray Leonard, questioned his public appeal.
The general public was not aware of Tommy Hearns' existence up until recently. I think after he disposed of Pepino Cuevas, and then he fought on my undercard. I think then the people, the general public, had an opportunity to see who Tommy Hearns was.
And this poor kid goes home and checks his bank balance and then reads in the paper how Ray's doing, and he wonders how he could be the greatest thing in the world. But they have convinced him that he is a great marketable product. The fact is that that's not the case.
It could be, you can't tell, but I'm not that concerned. You know, Pepino Cuevas could have been of that caliber, just that Thomas destroyed him and made the man look like he was a second-rate fighter. He may do this to Leonard even. And then we may realize that we have a super fighter on our hand, a guy that has a lot more ability than people give him credit for.
But at this time, Sugar Ray was in the spotlight. It was after Leonard fought Roberto Duran in their two diametrically unforgettable matchups that Thomas Hearns took his spot as next in line. In the press conference after the second Duran fight, Thomas and Sugar Ray exchanged the first verbal challenge.
Well, it did upset me when Ray said that I didn't have the stature of Duran. So I really did see something that I really regret doing at the time, which I had a rubber chicken and I threw it at Ray, and Ray took the chicken. And, you know, from there, I don't know what he did because he never did return the chicken, you know.
The word got around we were ducking Hearns. No, I ducked Hearns. Nobody else. They wanted to make the match. But they would come to me and say, Ange, I want you to fight Tommy Hearns. I said, what for? Not now. Let it get juicy, because I can smell it when it's going to be a big, big promotion. I turned Hearns down.
Well, I said that I wanted to, silence the critics and silence Tommy Hearns.
Finally, while Sugar Ray fought Larry Bonds in Syracuse, Mike Traynor and Emmanuel Stewart firmed up the deal for Leonard Hearns.
After the Bonds fight, he started to push, and we met at the airport, and he was very reasonable, and the fight was made. I think at the time he was very concerned that Ray was going to go fight Marvin Hagler before he fought Tommy Hearns.
So on June 25th in the Astrodome, both fought on the same card as a preview to their inevitable showdown. Thomas Hearns knocked out Pablo Baez in 4 rounds, and Sugar Ray Leonard knocked out Ayub Kalouli in the 10th to capture the WBA junior middleweight crown. So the last 2 hurdles were cleared.
In a sense, these 2 brilliant athletes have been destined to meet since their great amateur careers. Now, like parallel lines converging in the distance, they are going to meet. The distance is now.
Dreamed one day I would be fighting, performing in front of millions of people. So this is my dream, and I think my dream is going to come through for me.
I'm ready to fight now. You know, this fight I'm very serious about. Earlier, when we had the press conference, I always kid here and there, and they asked me, they said, well, Ray, is there any dislike or bad blood? There's no bad blood, but Hearns said things about me, and we just got to pay for them.
I tell you, it's the stuff that B movies are made of. Good versus evil, white collar versus blue collar. Pick your own cliche. Nonetheless, the scenario just couldn't be better.
Right, and again, it reminds me a little bit of Ali Frazier, in this sense that Frazier was the common, ordinary, plain-speaking fellow and the puncher, And Ali, of course, was the flashy, dashy, charming fellow and the boxer. And again, we have that difference. And I think underlying everything, that there's really a feeling of anger and envy in Hearns, and that on his part, Leonard wants to say, okay, I'm going to show you I'm more than just a pretty face.
So now we look ahead. How will each man fight? As you mentioned, will the boxer still be the boxer? Will the puncher still be the puncher?
In a fight between versatile athletes of this caliber, strategy usually evolves after they test each other for strength and quickness. Will Hearns come out and try to box the boxer? Or will he risk spending himself by coming out and trying to put hurt on him in the heat?
Thomas Hearns' style is deceiving. Most boxing people point to his punching power, but his other attributes as a boxer may confuse Sugar Ray Leonard.
People haven't really seen my boxing ability. All they mostly look for is my punching ability. People really don't even pay attention on how well I box.
The guy is a heck of a fighter. But the disease of Tommy Hearns is going to be Sugar Ray Leonard. There's always somebody out there that can do a number on the other guy. Ray is the guy that can do a number on Tommy Hearns.
Everyone is familiar with Sugar Ray's quickness with his feet and with his hands, and agrees that he must maneuver away from the lethal Hearns' right hand. But the biggest question of Ray's style is that he has been known to try and go toe-to-toe, as he did against Roberto Duran in their first fight. Sugar Ray wanted to show the world that he could outpunch a slugger, and he got caught in the early rounds.
The first encounter was a very different fight, totally different approach, because I was trying to prove a point.
Leonard is fighting more flat-footed nowadays, and he's actually become more of a slugger than he is a boxer. Of his last 4 fights, it's only 1 fight has he moved in.
Punching power will also be a factor, and while Sugar Ray has shown less mobility, he has also demonstrated increasing power. But like everyone else in the boxing world, Ray has nothing but respect for Hearns' punching ability.
Powerful. That is awesome. He hits very, very hard. And I don't hit that hard. In fact, I think Hearns has that advantage as far as power is concerned. But to hit him enough times, I'll get respect and I'll wear him down.
When I fought him, it was the same thing. It was his jab and hook, you know. Forget the right hand. How are you going to get away from the jab and hook? The jab and hook was nothing to get away from. It'll be nothing for Leonard to get away from. All he has to do is worry about getting hit by the right hand.
And the way Thomas Hearns sets up that right hand is with his 78-inch reach. Consider this. It is longer than that of famed heavyweights like Joe Louis and Rocky Marciano. And it is also 4 inches longer than Sugar Ray Leonard's.
I see the reach advantage as far as the height, and it's, more so I feel my punching ability is going to be the biggest problem for Ray than anything. He's going to be trying to get around it as much as he possibly can, and there's no way around it.
Reach is a false conception. By that I mean reach, how the way you stand, the length of your reach. Ray has that talent of hit and don't get hit. Because I assure you, that night with Hearns, the Marquess of Queensberry rules will be predominant. Because the idea is to nail this guy and don't get nailed yourself.
Sugar Ray Leonard may accomplish this by fighting inside. In his recent fights, he's been very effective hitting to the body. And observers agree that by fighting inside, Ray, like some previous opponents of Thomas Hearns, can offset his reach and punching power advantage.
We're prepared to deal with whatever happens. We're not going in this fight with any set plan. And I think that it would be bad on both parties' part to do that, because both guys are capable of changing up their styles. And Leonard can box, and he can also move to the inside. And so we're going to be able to deal with whatever happens.
Hearns' reach is like it can stretch halfway across the ring. So that's what Leonard's going to have to watch out for. But if he slips and gets inside, works to the body, then goes upstairs to the head, then he'll have a much easier time.
That is true. I'm going to go to his body, work it hard. Hearns never been hit to the body repeatedly. Every round, he's never experienced that. And when fatigue sets in, Hearns loses composure.
Which brings us to the last question. Hearns' stamina. He's gone 10 rounds or more only 4 times, his longest fight being the 13-round knockout of Randy Shields. Will Sugar Ray take advantage of this factor by staying away from Hearns early, forcing the fight into later rounds? Whatever happens, Emmanuel Stewart does not consider Leonard's experiences in a 15-round championship fight as an advantage.
I don't think it's going to be a factor. It's not even on our minds. We're going to be prepared to go 15 rounds, 20 rounds, and the same distance is going to be for Thomas is going to be for Ray.
I think that Hearns is as good a banger late as he is early. A banger is a banger. You don't take punch away.
They know fully well that if I'm prepared mentally and physically, there's no problem, and there won't be no problem.
Some people underestimate me, which is Ray. Think that I can't go 10, 15 rounds. But I'm here to prove it. I'm going to prove everything that needs to be proved in this fight with Ray. I'm going to prove how well a boxer I am. And then again, I'm going to prove how well my stamina is built up, how well I can build my stamina up to go 10 or 15 rounds. So I don't think I'm going to have any problem whatsoever going the distance or prove my boxing ability.
So there are the unknown quantities about Tommy Hearns. Can he go the distance? Ray Leonard has, Thomas Hearns has not. Which brings us, Larry Merchant, to one thing that I think could have a profound effect on the fight, and you touched on it early on, and that is the weather in Las Vegas.
Well, just about a year ago, when Ali fought Holmes, they said it was 114 in the same ring that these two men are going to be fighting. When we were in Traverse City, they were keeping the heat in that building at 85 to approximate the conditions, and it was very hot at 85. You don't know how this is going to affect their stamina or even their strategy, whether they're going to be afraid to let it all go, particularly early on.
Well, it's an hour or so of boxing, but it's weeks of hoopla, and all of that could have an effect on the outcome as well. Who wins and loses on the 16th depends only in part on boxing skills. There's the constant questions from the media, the crush of the fans, the bright lights everywhere. Boxing skills inside the ring are one thing. Outside the ring experience is something else.
And Sugar Ray Leonard has found himself surrounded by the press since the 1976 Olympic Games. After witnessing the journalistic onslaughts of both Duran fights, Sugar Ray seems comfortable in a fishbowl setting. But what about Thomas Hearns?
That he will, if he wins this fight, will Thomas Hearns be a bigger winner by, you're wiping out Sugar Ray Leonard.
Whether this constant attention will affect Thomas Hearns' performance is an open question. But one thing is certain, he has not caught the public eye as Sugar Ray Leonard has. The WBC champion is the darling of Madison Avenue.
How about that, Sugar?
Thank you, Bob. That was a very flattering introduction.
Well, you don't think I'm going to say anything to make you mad, do you?
Wow, was that the shit? No, that's just my dad.
Feeling 7 up, I'm feeling 7 up.
And the referee for today's bout is none other than that world welterweight boxing champion, Mr. Sugar Ray Leonard.
Sugar Ray Leonard.
He is the hottest property in boxing. But even a superstar can sometimes be overcome by stage fright. Sometimes the magnitude of the event can strike fear in the mind of a fighter. Such was the case in Montreal against Roberto Duran.
I could not believe how big the first Duran fight was. Now you were in awe. You just don't believe what is truly taking place. And it will be a factor in the fight.
A prize fighter doesn't fight the media in the ring. But if he fights the media outside the ring, it could affect him when the fight begins. And in an event of this magnitude, that could happen. And it could happen to Tommy Hearns. Will it?
A promotional tour introduced Thomas Hearns to the American public. Later, a few national publications were denied interviews, but Thomas answered most requests with very straightforward response.
What about all the hype that surrounds a fight?
I'm a quiet person. I don't say that much.
Is there any truth to the rumors that you and Sugar Ray have a feud going?
No, not at all. Leonard is definitely getting all the commercials now. He's getting all the publicity. But come September 16th, there's going to be nothing else left for Leonard to do.
Thomas Hearns wants to be boxing's biggest attraction, and he's not worried about the demands of the public.
I don't see any problem whatsoever handling the press. All that seems to be a must for me now that I'm in the position that I am in now. So it's just something that goes along with being on the top. So I feel that I can deal with it.
The shorthand is mind over matter. All other things being equal, how do you choose between two great physically talented athletes? We know that Sugar Ray Leonard has a sense of destiny about him and that he can handle the great moment.
As long as this kid's the best out there, you'll see Sugar Ray. And he wants to do something. I listen to him talk and I digest what he says. I understand this kid. He wants to unify the welterweight title. He will unify it, my friend. He wants to unify the junior middleweight. He will unify it. He wants to win that middleweight championship. He will win it. This kid's something else. You haven't seen the best of this kid.
I think that Tommy is a child of destiny. This for a whole lot of reasons. There's a lot of things, strange occurrences happened along the way that I have reason to believe that. But I think that in the fight of this type, where his ability is rarely equal, I think it's the intangibles that really would make the fight and determine the winner. And I think in most cases, it's going to come out Thomas.
So we're dealing with two skilled champions. And Larry, I think it's interesting that the man behind the man is of an equal caliber.
Yes, Emmanuel Stewart is an interesting fellow. Through the sheer force of his will and talent, he has rebuilt boxing in Detroit. And I think he has almost a symbiotic relationship with Hearns. Hearns listens to him. On the other hand, Leonard is more of a freelance operator, and Angelo Dundee is a sort of executive trainer. But he's important. He does have the power of suggestion, and if something goes wrong in the ring, and it often does in a big fight, Angelo Dundee is the best man in the world to have in your corner.
Now, what's left but to pick a winner? You were saying when you go out running that people are sticking their heads out the window saying, who do you think's going to win the fight? Everybody's got an opinion.
I think that if it goes early, if it's an early knockout, I'll have to go with Hearns. And if it goes later on the fight, I'm picking Leonard to come on and win by decision or by a knockout.
Both of them are great fighters, but I think Hearns has greater size and greater punching ability.
I would pick Sugar Ray Leonard to win this fight in a 15-round decision. I do that because I believe it will not be World War III with the two guys going to the center of the ring to see who can punch the hardest. I think the fight's going to go the distance. And if the fight goes the distance, I believe Ray will win the decision.
It's pick'em. And some days I think Leonard, some days I think Hearns, and today I don't think at all. I like Holmes very much against Cooney.
I think this fight, I cannot predict an ending because I'm very close with both guys and I want neither one mad at me. So I'm going to cop out in that way. But I think the ending will be sweet, spectacular, and just the most incredible ending in the history of the welterweight division.
If Hearns doesn't nail Leonard in the first few rounds, I look for Leonard to win a decision.
A friend of mine that night of the fight would tell the story, and that you and I don't know about those things. The inside of the fighter, the way they think, and all that. And you have to see that night of the fight. But I lean a little to Leonard.
Sugar Ray, or as the Latin fans call him, Ray Sugar Leonard. I think he's going to win the fight, and I don't have that many compelling reasons, but Leonard, in a way, reminds me of Ali. I think here's a kid, he's 25 years old. He's got $25 million, and yet he's still fighting. I mean, he's in this brutal business. Why? I think one reason is that he has a sense of history, a sense of his own destiny, and then when he retires, he wants to be remembered as, you know, one of the all-time ring greats.
I don't think he would try to fight Hearns' fight. He's not going to go for the big knockout punch. He'll try to stay inside, and I think that because of his maneuvering, he'll take it into the late rounds and will stop Hearns in round 12. That is the Albert prediction. I say it like I know what I'm talking about, but that is the Albert prediction.
My pick is Hearns, and it could be by knockout, or he could outbox him. A lot of people don't give Hearns the credit, the boxing credit that is due him. They think that Ray Leonard is a super boxer, and he is. But Tommy Hearns is also an excellent boxer. He could outpoint him or knock him out. If there is a knockout in the fight, it's got to be Hearns.
I'm going to give a very slight edge, and a very slight edge to Tommy Hearns. The reason being that in observing Tommy, I noticed that he's a very, very settled fighter. He doesn't get rattled. And Emmanuel Stewart, I have a lot of respect for Emmanuel Stewart and the way he schools a fighter to win.
I cannot tell you who's going to win this fight. I have no opinion.
It's the first time that I think, outside of Ali Frazier, that the realization is going to exceed the expectation.
Sugar Ray Leonard will knock out Tommy Hearns. 9, 10, will definitely knock him out. I mean out. We'll do a number on him. We'll box him. I mean, will not be a running fight. It'll be an intelligent, tactical fight. And meanwhile, Hearns will be catching.
I think personally that Leonard's going to try to move to the inside, I think, and try to fight to the inside more. And I think that Thomas is going to end up boxing more and using his arms to control him.
And when will it end?
Myself, I think about the 5th round. I've been told by another expert that it's 142 of the 9th, but I think that Thomas will knock him out.
A lot of my friends have came to me, and grown men crying, say, Ray, you got to win this fight. My house is on the line. My wife is on the line, you know? And they're very sincere because they believe so much in me that they're willing to risk all their personal belongings. And I'm aware that I can beat Hearns, and I will, and it's a must that I do so.
I can't predict anything. I can't say that I will knock Ray out, but I can say that it will not go 15 rounds.
I made a prediction earlier when we first began talking about the fight. I said it won't go past 12. And recently I said 8 rounds. Today, 7 rounds.
There's always a possibility that a person he can be beaten or he can be knocked down.
Well, that's one nice thing about a pre-fight show. At this juncture, everybody looks like a winner. Comes now the time when Barry Tompkins turns to Larry Merchant and says, as an expert, what do you think?
Well, the only thing I'm really sure of is that they won't find Tommy Hearns' chicken in that ring on that night. I lean a little to Leonard, but just about that much. Mainly because we don't have all the answers about Tommy Hearns yet. There are a lot of questions about him. He does have the punch to answer all those questions very quickly.
Of that, there is no doubt. And I must say, we do not rehearse this segment of the show, but I have to say that I concur completely with what you say. I, too, like Sugar Ray Leonard. I like him along about the 11th round, and my reasoning is this, that I really believe Thomas Hearns' reputation was made in large part on one fight, the Pepino Cuevas fight. But in that one, he was great. For Larry Merchant, I'm Barry Tompkins, and that's it for Countdown to Showdown.
Who's the Motor City Hitman? Tommy Hearns. Who's the Motor City Hitman? He's got flash, he's got power, he's got style to spare. He can move, he's got guts, he can kill with a stare.
It's your day, Sugar Ray, and we all love you. It's your day, Sugar Ray, and we all stand behind you. It's your day, Sugar Ray, and we all do adore you. It's your day, Sugar Ray. Yeah, all right.
This has been a presentation of HBO Sports.